I'm making a bunch of baked goods today for a few reasons. Number one, we have a very busy weekend coming up with a lot of social events. And in these social events, I volunteered to bring a lot of baked goodies. So I have to bake them, of course, number one. Number two, the kids have been asking me for a few things. They want some cookies, so I want to do that as well. Just make a whole afternoon of baking. And I want to start with some sweet bread. So this will just be the normal sweet bread that we've already made here. The normal homemade bread. But what will make it sweet is that I am going to add raisins to it. And this one I'm planning to be part of the breakfast for one of the social events, because it's going to be an overnight movie thing and we'll need breakfast for the next morning. So I thought this would go very well in that event. I'm going to need some olive oil, some warm milk. I need raisins, salt, sugar, flour, and yeast. It's very simple. And I want to bake 2 loaves, so that's why I have 2 dishes here. And I always like, when I'm doing any sort of baking session with bread, I like to start with it so that it can be proofing as I go ahead with the other things that don't necessarily need proofing. So for the bread, I'm using 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 2.5 cups. I think I need a knife. Two. And a half cups. 2 teaspoons of instant yeast. This yeast has survived for, I think, almost 4 months in my freezer, which is amazing. 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 teaspoon salt. I forgot to say that we also need eggs, okay? One per loaf. So at this point, I like to put away one of the measurements, just so that I can finish completely with one bread. So I'm mixing in the dry ingredients, mixing them up nicely. If this was just the normal loaf, I'd have left it like this. But because I want to make it sweet, here is where I'm adding a handful of raisins. I feel like that's enough, or maybe a bit more. If I had some roasted peanuts, I would have peeled some and added as well. But I haven't had a chance to roast. Okay. Then I'm going to put in 1 cup of warm milk. Remember, the milk has to be warm because of the yeast. 2 tablespoons of olive oil and our egg. So I'll start with the milk. 1 cup of milk. Stir it in. I like using the bottom of a wooden spoon. I saw this once, someone was doing it on YouTube and it made so much sense. It might look dry, but don't be fooled, because remember, we are adding in 2 tablespoons of olive oil, or any oil that you have. 1, 2, and our egg. Mix this in nicely. So at this point is when we are going to pour it out on our cleaned surface. The surface was clean, but let me just wipe again just to be double sure. About an extra 1/4 cup of flour just for kneading. I'm going to knead it for about 150 times. I like this method of counting how many times I'm actually kneading, because I feel like I get a better product as opposed to just saying knead until you get the desired consistency. Not everybody knows what the desired consistency is, including myself. But I feel like if I knead for 150 times, it's easy to count. Basically, that's all I'm saying. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 3, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. As you can see, it's now become quite a nice ball. Not sticky as it was in the beginning. So I'm going to put it back in the container and let it rest for 10 minutes. And let's cover and rest for 10 minutes. Do the next one. So now I just want to take this, just stretch it out a bit so it can fit into my nice loaf pan. Okay. And then I'm going to sort of wrap it up nicely. Let me show you. Okay. Then I bring my loaf pan, lift it up, put it in the pan. Today I want to proof my bread in the air fryer because it actually has a proofing function. It's actually called the fermenting function. You can also use it to make yogurt. You know, we make our own yogurt here. But I was reading the manual and I noticed that you can also use the same to proof any dough, which is good because sometimes when you're proofing dough, you never know when you get the right temperatures. It can disappoint you sometimes. So I'm glad that I can use this. I can use it now to proof the bread. So I'll just put it there for about 1 hour. Generally, it's supposed to rise until it is like it rises on top of the baking pan. So I'm really hoping that it works better than putting the bread to proof in the oven or in a warm place. Especially now because we're having a cold season. So these are my loaves. So I'll just put them here. Turn on my air fryer convection. And then so I'm going to bring it all the way down until it reads ferment. You see? And the time is 1 hour, so that's just perfect. Then put in my bread. Then I close and I start. There we go. So I'm making some chocolate chip cookies. We are going for a birthday party for one of my kids' friends, and I thought this would be so nice for them to share with the other kids. Okay, so I have some wheat flour, I have baking soda here, I have 2 eggs. I'm doubling the recipe. Then I have some salt, I have chocolate chips, I have brown sugar, I have regular sugar, and I have 1 cup of melted butter. For half of them, I'm also going to add some sprinkles, just for the sake of variety. And let's do this. It shouldn't take so long because they're cookies. They take like minutes. Famous last word. So let's do this. Of course, you know, I am not going to be cleaning my container because I like to work smart, not hard. So then I have 1 cup of milk here, and I'm going to put in 1 cup of sugar. Okay, I'll just make it almost 1 cup because again, you don't want them to be too sweet. And half a cup of brown sugar. And mix them nicely. Oh, yeah. Once these are well combined, I'm going to put in 2 eggs. The recipe also calls for vanilla extract. Here is where you would put 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, but guess who does not have vanilla extract? Yes, that would be me, I myself. So here I'm going to put 1 3/4 cups of flour times 2. 1, 2, and then my 3/4 cup, I put 2 of them, because remember we are doubling the recipe, yeah? 2. And to this I will also add 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So here we're going to put half a teaspoon of baking soda. Sorry, I know I said 2. And then twice, okay? 2 halves. And lastly, 2 pinches of salt. 1, 2. And I'll mix this up. All right, now here is where I'm going to stir in a handful of cookies. A handful of chocolate chip, but I'll stir them in and then I'll see how they look. If I need more, I'll add more. It's so hard to do this, guys, without my mixer, but yes, I'm considering this to be my arm workout of the day. Recipes don't actually have any liquid apart from the melted butter and the egg. That's it. Yeah. Okay, this is enough. And then now here is where I'm going to scoop out 1 tablespoon, 1 heaped tablespoon of the dough. Form it into a ball. Okay, like this, and then I'll put it on my tray. I'll do this for half of them. Then what remains, I'll add in some sprinkles, mix a little bit, and then form into the next balls. I'm going to bake at 180 degrees centigrade for about 10 to 12 minutes. But one thing I've noticed about cookies is that they're so easy to overcook and to burn, because I always used to wait for my cookies to turn brown. If you wait for them to turn brown, they will be burnt for sure. So now these are ready, and the other half I'm going to add some sprinkles, and then I'll put them in the oven. But in the meantime, these ones can be baking because my oven has already preheated. So now for this one, let's add some sprinkles and make them pop even more. I don't actually need to even mix them so much. I can just leave it. Then now I just scoop the sprinkles and shape. I'm ready, okay? So you see what I was telling you guys, as in like the cookies come out looking almost the same way they went in, but they are cooked. And if you attempted like me to keep them on for a bit longer so that they turn brown, they might get too hard, okay? But let's give it a taste. My mouth is watering. First of all, let's see how easy they are to break. See, they're just falling apart, okay? Now let's taste this. They seem crunchy on the outside, soft in the middle. Yeah, baby. Ooh, they are delicious. That sugar is just perfect. Almost too much. Oh my gosh, look at this. Those chocolate chips are giving. I don't know what they're giving, but they say they're giving, so let's just agree they're giving. So now I want to bake this bread because I finished rising. So I'm just putting my oven to bake there. And then for the temperature, so we are baking at 40 minutes at 178 degrees centigrade or Celsius, whichever. There we go. So the loaves are done. What I want to do is to just brush them with butter so the crust is nice and soft without being too hard. Yumolicious. Look at that, guys. What? This is deliciousness. I always wonder why my loaves don't puff up until they reach the top of the baking pan nicely. I find it such a mystery. I've left them standing in here for like 10 minutes. So I'll give them another 5 and then we'll remove them from the baking tins. And then now they'll be ready. Now I want to work on the scones. We're making good progress. Now it's time to make the cheese scones. Very easy to make. I've just done a YouTube short on that if you're interested, for all the measurements and the how-tos. So I'm going to link that in the pinned comment below. And one question that I got asked in that video is why I was using self-raising flour and still adding baking powder. Because I use self-raising flour and then I add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And this is because, to me, I feel that they don't rise well enough with just the self-raising flour. So I like to go a bit extra. Doesn't affect the taste, doesn't affect anything. I feel like it just makes them rise up nicely. Okay, but it's optional. You can put the baking powder or not, completely up to you. I think of all the things that I bake, scones are my easiest and tastiest, and therefore the ones that I make most frequently, because they don't need time to rise, they don't need a lot of things, they're just really easy. And I've come to learn that the recipe for scones is very similar to the one for mandazis, only that scones, you bake them, you don't deep fry them. I am still perfecting my mandazi game, you guys. If you have a favorite mandazi recipe, drop it down for me in the comment section, because mandazis are a struggle for me, honestly. So yeah, I hope you will try this recipe, because once you like it, once you know it, you'll be making it forever. The details of the scones recipe, as I said, will be in the pinned comment. I'll pink the YouTube short. I mean, it didn't make sense for me to give you all the details again, and I just gave you 2 weeks ago in a short 60 seconds. So I'll make sure I pin it down below. Guys, if you're liking this content, one thing that would really help me is if you could give this video a thumbs up. I mean, you would not believe how important it is for this channel when you like our videos. It goes such a long way to grow our channel, and I really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed, maybe you should consider joining this amazing family over here. And we'd love to have you. Thank you. So that's my first tray of scones. These ones I've made with raisins. I want to make others with chocolate chips. I want to do quite a batch because I'm taking to my various functions. So as those are going, I start working on the others. As the last batch of the scones are going, I want to start working on the muffins. And I'm making coconut flavored muffins. So those are going to be, of course, delicious. And what I need for these is desiccated coconut. I need some baking powder. I need milk. I wish I had coconut milk, but I don't. But I do have coconut cream, and I'm going to put this like 2 tablespoons, okay? Just to give it extra coconut flavor. I need some sugar, salt, flour, an egg, and some coconut oil, all right, which I'm going to melt. Again, I'm making a huge batch of this, so I'll just start whipping them up, and as some are baking, I'm making the others. So I want to start with the wet ingredients. I'm doubling the mixture, so I'm putting 2 eggs here. Beat the eggs. To this, I'm going to put 1 cup of milk. There we go. And half a cup of melted coconut oil. Again, if I had vanilla essence, I'd have put 2 teaspoons, but you know, today is that day when things are just going the way they want to go, and we're here making the best of the situation. The bell for the last of the scones has gone, so let me get those out first. So my oven is pretty much preheated. Ooh, look at those. Smelling delicious. All right. So my wet ingredients done. Off to the side. Let's get another bowl for the wet the dry ones. Yes, the dry ones. So the dry ingredients, we have 3 cups of all-purpose flour. 1, 2, 3. And then we have 1 cup of sugar. But I always say sugar is, by the way, it is so relative to you. You can reduce it if you don't like things that are too sweet. Absolutely understandable. For some recipes, I completely just put like 75% of what they ask for. And all this comes out well. I'm putting 4 teaspoons of baking powder. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 teaspoon of salt. That. And lastly, 1 cup of desiccated coconut. See? I'm going to sprinkle it on top as well, just so that we have nice looking muffins. I feel like I am highly overestimating this bowl. Let me just get my white ones. Again, they're not clean, but you know what? It's the same thing I've been putting, so whatever, man. So my dry ingredients are well mixed. Then just pour in my wet ingredients. You guys, this butter is too hard. What is this? I know for a fact muffin batter is supposed to be scoopable. And I've already added half a cup. So I'm adding another half a cup of milk. I think this should do the trick. So let's just say for the whole recipe, I've used 2 cups of milk, not 1 cup. And I think what made the difference is the desiccated coconut. So if I was just making a normal muffin, I think that amount of milk would be enough. But the desiccated coconut, you know, is dry. So, yeah. We live, we learn, guys. So this is the consistency we are going for. Okay. So now let me scoop it. So I'm going to spoon my mixture into my muffin things. You know these muffin things. Yeah, that's a nice amount. So I'm baking this at 180 degrees centigrade for 25 minutes, which is thankfully the temperature I was baking the scones at. So the oven is quite ready. There we go. So, let's just say I had forgotten to put this. I literally had to remove these things from the oven because I had forgotten to put the desiccated coconut on top, which is very important to make this a real coconut muffin, you know. Thankfully I remembered. the minute I put them in the oven, and here we are. They officially saved. You know, yes, please. Okay. Yeah, it's not hot. Is it? Oh, yeah, it had gotten a bit hot. Okay, let's try this. Take two. Take two. Okay. There we have it. The last batch of muffins is in the oven. I know you're probably wondering why I would need apples for dinner rolls, but, well, I've changed my mind. I decided to make the last dish an apple crumble because I was going to make dinner rolls for serving with lasagna when we have that sleepover thing. But last minute, I decided it's easier to buy the dinner rolls and then make them into garlic bread for the lasagna. And instead, I'm making an apple crumble for the kids because the last time I made it, they really liked it. And I've made so many things for other people, I decided, okay, I can make one thing for us, you know, and then it has apples, it's healthy. And all that jazz. Has a lot of sugar, but you know. So that's what I'm doing. So as the last batch of muffins is baking, let's whip this up quickly. And what I'm going to need for the apple crumbles are apples, 8 of them, peeled, cored, and sliced or cubed rather. I'm going to cut them into cubes. Then I'm going to need some brown sugar, some regular sugar, self-raising flour, and oats, rolled oats, and of course 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So let's just imagine that I have that, okay? So I have my apples chopped, peeled, chunked, and everything. I'm putting them in a saucepan. Yes, a saucepan. And I'm going to add literally 1 tablespoon of water. Sorry, 1.5. And 2 tablespoons of caster sugar. 1, 2. Then I'm going to cook this for a few minutes until the apples are soft. So we're just cooking for a few minutes until the apples have softened. And you can taste your apples. If they feel a bit too tart or tangy, you can add a bit more sugar. But mine were rather sweet. So 2 tablespoons of sugar is enough. In the meantime, let's prepare the topping. So for the topping, I'm going to put a 1/4 cup of brown sugar into my bowl. This is a 1/2 cup measurement, so. And to that sugar, I will add 3/4 cup of self-raising flour and cinnamon. Did I forget to mention cinnamon earlier? Yes, I did. Am I sorry? Yes, I am. So we are going to put 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I mean, apples and cinnamon go together as well as... What goes well together? Let me know in the comment section below. Some stuff just goes really well together, like apples and cinnamon. So then I'm mixing the sugar, the cinnamon, and the self-raising flour. Into this, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of cold butter. I am really enjoying using this butter that I bought from Costco. Americans, you guys are living the life. What? First of all, it comes like this, portioned. Look at this, guys. And then 1 stick is a whole 1/2 cup. And then if you want like 1 tablespoon, as in like they've measured for you. So regardless of what the recipe is asking for, you just need to cut there, and you have the 1 tablespoon. Half of this is a 1/4 cup of butter. The whole thing is half a cup. I mean. So I'm mixing the butter with the flour, and I'm going to use my crumbing method, where I use my fingertips to rub the butter into the flour mixture until it resembles breadcrumbs. Then once it looks like this looks like nice crumbs, I'm going to put in 4 tablespoons of oats and mix well. Now I'm greasing this baking pan, because here's where I'm going to make the apple crumble. I want to then put in the cooked apples, and I'll spread the flour oat mixture on top. All right. Then once I'm done with this, I want to sprinkle some brown sugar on top, just to make a nice crispy sweet layer. And finally, I'll arrange these beautiful apple slices to just make a beautiful flower on top. Because I don't want these apples to burn too much or to brown too much, I'm going to brush them with melted butter. Bake it at 200 degrees Celsius for 40 to 45 minutes. But remember, halfway to cover with foil so that it doesn't brown too much on top. And we are done. I covered it with foil after about 20 minutes so that it doesn't, the apples don't burn. My gosh, if I told you how amazing this place is smelling, I don't know whether you'd believe me. It's smelling so good. Apples and cinnamon. And butter. What? Ooh. You can have this as is, just serve it, or you can have it with ice cream, with some custard. Probably should have wiped the sides, but yeah. It is what it is, man. Let me see if I can. So we have our tea scones. It smells so good. Okay, everything smells really, really good. And then we have our chocolate chip cookies and chocolate chip with sprinkles. Our sweet bread has cooled really nicely. We have our apple crumble that the whole house is just smelling delicious. And lastly, we have our coconut muffins. Boom! I am ready for my social engagements. I am ready to show up in people's houses like this, looking like I am so organized. And I'm like, yeah, I made it myself, Anyway, this is what I like to do. Like when I'm running out of time, I'm a working mom. I like to plan my life in advance so that when I don't have time, I have something ready. And that's why I also prefer to make my breakfast meals in advance so that I'm out of the house in 1 minute. And I did a video here showing you fantastic breakfast freezer meals that you should check out next. And I'll see you over there.